Afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our Support for Parents and Carers section of our Accessible Tech Thursdays mini-series. Today, we're going to hopefully give you an overview of what we mean by assistive technology and signpost to some of the resources that we created in this series. So, by assistive technology, we mean any product or service that is kind of designed to enable independence. It could be something like a keyboard or a touchscreen. It could be a joystick or a rollerball for adaptive mouse control. So we thought we'd share some top tips, not only of our time together over the Accessible Tech Thursday programme, but also from our experience within schools. So it's not necessarily about going out and buying additional kit for your child or young person. It might be just something as simple as looking at the accessible features within the technology that you've already got, whether your son or daughter has an iPhone or an Android or a tablet. We have run more in-depth webinars around accessibility features within iOS, Android and mobile apps. Using the link below, you can access the training that's in a little bit more detail. Also, it's about having a little bit of investigation and familiarising yourself with the technology that is available, whether it be an enlarged keyboard, it might be a switch to enable computer access if your child has got a physical disability and has limited movement. It might be that if they have issues with their fine motor skills, they might need an adaptive mouse, maybe like a joystick, a bit more of a gaming control. And again, as you can see in the picture, there are a variety of handles that we can use. So it could be a T-bar, it could be a larger sponge ball, depending on their grip, or it could be something like you're using your Apple device and you need to be able to make that switch accessible. So it could be something like a switch interface box, which is shown below. So we have done a session on physical kit and physical kit plus, which is looking at some of that more very specialized specific technology. So again, feel free to check those out on using the link below. I would really recommend that if you think your child or young person would really benefit from an assessment for using some technology, there is a very short project that's running until the end of March. It's been funded by the DFE, and National Star are offering free remote assessments looking, and will advise you on some of the assistive technology that they think is appropriate for your son or daughter. So I would really recommend signing up. It's completely free. I think the assessments take about an hour, where they would ask yourself and the class teacher to be part of the assessment process, and it's really a fantastic opportunity. So please do access that if that's something that you think would benefit you. From after the end of March, when the National Star project has finished, there is always the option for a free information appointment at the ACE Centre. So there's two bases, one in the north and one in the south, and they offer a free information appointment with some recommendations. And again, following their advice, if you think, or if they think and you all feel that your son or daughter would benefit from a piece of specific assistive technology, then they will talk you through that process where there is the option for that technology to be funded by NHS England. There is some quite strict criteria, and there's an assessment application process to go through because you need to justify the evidence. And I've just come off a call with the school about, actually, it is about if your son or daughter has got a higher, if it was for a language, for a piece of technology to support their language, the recommendation is that the child, their receptive language, so what they understand, needs to be significantly higher than their expressive language to show that actually the lack of that technology is actually holding them back. So it is quite an application process, but you can understand because some of the technology is very expensive. There is also the option of a loan bank. So High Furlong, the school that I am based out of, we offer a free lending service. All we ask is that parents, schools and colleges just cover the cost of postage, and we can lend. If there's a specific piece of technology, feel free to email me, and my email details are at the end. And if I've got it, then we will loan it. We just ask for the loan agreement to be signed, which just says, obviously, should the equipment become broken while you are loaning it, you'll replace it. But some of the technology can be quite expensive, so it's just a case of, where possible, we will give you the option to try before you buy, really, and see if it's accurate and doing what you want it to do. I would recommend to any parent and carer to ask your school for any how-to guides for whatever they're using in school. I would like to think that you'll be offered that anyway, but it could be something as simple as how to set up a Zoom call, how to access a Teams call. Don't be afraid to ask, because I think from my and Neil's perspective, we would rather parents ask us those questions and actually be able to engage with us. So we sent home during lockdown some ideas for how you could use single message switches for communication when at home, because we are aware that there's a whole team of us in school using this and familiar and having each other to ask questions on if we're not sure how to use the technology. So please do ask your school or college for any guides so that you can replicate that at home. I feel quite strongly about this one, and I've just come off a call with another school, because it's very much about being kind to yourself. We're not expecting you to be experts. Whilst Neil and I know a lot about technology, there's also a lot of technology that we've not used. You know, you can only talk about the technology you've used. There's a lot of technology on the market, both for assistive technology and just technology in general, and it's always changing and being updated. So, and it's also about taking the time to learn how to use the technology before. So as teachers, we would expect our staff to be confident in using it before we ask them to use it with a student. Obviously, it's been a little bit different in lockdown. I'm hoping that the next 12 months will be about people feeling comfortable with using the technology, now that we've not got that race for everybody to do that remote learning. Do your research, have a look, read reviews, take your time with it. And also, don't be afraid to review it. So if you use a piece of technology but actually it's not having the level of accuracy that you want, and it's very effortful for you and your child, you know, talk to somebody. Don't be afraid to ring the support team. It might be a case of that you have to send it back because it's just not working. A lot of the companies will accept refunds if it's purely not fit for purpose, if it's not what you're expecting. And set those kind of achievable and short-term goals for yourself. And it's as much a journey for yourself as well as your child. So it's just, don't put too much pressure on yourself that you've got to be up and running with it straight away. And actually, with many pieces of technology, whether it's software, there will be things that you might only use a certain feature or a certain function, and there might be wider features that you can use over time, the more familiar and confident you get with it. So it's really remembering the why we're using the technology and not being concerned and frightened of it. There's a lot of people, a lot of school staff, a lot of families who are frightened of just, I'm not techie, and that automatically becomes the barrier. If you keep going back to the why you're using it and what are you hoping to get out of it, then you will figure the logistics out of it. And there's always support out there, whether it's through the demonstrator project, through Neil and I's contact details at the end of the slide, whether it's the support team from the company you bought the product from, whether it's your child's school. So don't ever feel like you're on your own with it. And what you don't want is a highly expensive piece of equipment to be sat in a cupboard not being used. So it's just about being realistic with what you're expecting and how long you think it'll take you to be up and running with it. Thank you. Neil has very kindly put together this Accessible Tech Thursdays map, which consolidates all the webinars we've done since September, and it's broken down into the right areas. So if actually you're really interested in looking at accessibility features within Microsoft or within mobile apps, because that's the way many young people use technology these days, you know, it's kind of broken down and it's quite easy to follow. So again, if you're looking at how to improve yourself or your child's mental health and well-being, there's a webinar to support that. If you're looking at that more specific technology, then we've got the physical kit and the physical kit plus webinars. So they're all there and free to access. And they're not too long. They're only, I think the maximum is about 45 minutes. They vary from about half an hour to 45 minutes. So thank you. And we have got our last webinar next week in our Accessible Tech Thursday series. And Neil will be covering the Tech Ability Standards. So that's 4:15 next Thursday. So please, it would be great for you to join us for our last session. And we've got a drop-in at the end of that for any questions. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Erica. That was really good. I'll leave the chat open if anyone's got any questions. But either way, if you want to sign up for any assistance, then you can visit edtech-demonstrator.lgfl.net, and we've got our social media links on the right-hand side. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in, and look forward to seeing you next week.